Hi everyone, this is Joe Gentile from Sarraf Gentile LLP. Today I want to address what are the downside risks if you file a mandamus lawsuit and it doesn't work out. And by not working out, I mean that you don't get the decision that you're seeking to get in a quicker time frame, right? So to me, the biggest risk and the most obvious risk is to file a mandamus lawsuit. At least if you're going to file one using an attorney, you're going to have to pay an attorney's fee, and you're going to have to pay some relatively modest amount of expenses to file the lawsuit. And if the lawsuit doesn't work out, then you spent the money and you didn't get the result that you were seeking. That is the biggest and most obvious risk, and that applies in just about every case. And how big a risk that is really depends on how important the money is to you. For most people filing a mandamus lawsuit, they're going to end up paying probably somewhere between $5,000 and $6,000 to do it. If that amount of money is going to change your lifestyle if you don't have it, if you're going to miss a rent payment, if you're going to have to change your diet because you spent it, then obviously that money could represent a pretty big risk for somebody. If they're sitting on a large amount of savings, and if they spent the money and it didn't get the result, it's not going to change their lifestyle or financial goals in any way, then it's not really that big a risk. Most people are somewhere in between. So you have to judge, I guess, the value of the money versus the value of the benefit that you're trying to get, and try to come to your own judgment on that. But the money is the biggest risk for most people. People are concerned about retaliation. That's a topic that comes up frequently, or if it's going to cause some sort of complication with their underlying immigration case. And the answer to both of those is no. Retaliation, I haven't seen it. It's basically unheard of. It's a very low risk. And same thing for a complication in the underlying immigration case. Like you file a mandamus lawsuit and it somehow complicates the petitions. I can't think of any scenario where that's true and that's the case. I do think it's worth it before you decide that you want to go forward, that you completely understand the downside risk. It's still worth it to talk to an experienced attorney, because there are some scenarios that maybe not they're exactly risks of the mandamus lawsuit not working, but they're considerations. So if you're filing an asylum petition, for instance, and your asylum case is, if it's not the strongest, if there's a very good chance that you could lose, you may not want to file a mandamus lawsuit, because if you do lose, you're not really sure what your plan B is. And while you're waiting, at least you're in the US, you're working. So there are some scenarios where people can rationally come to the conclusion that they're benefiting from the wait, and they may not want to rush a decision or get a decision quicker. So I don't know if I'd call that a risk factor, but it's certainly something to consider. To summarize, for the vast majority of cases, the downside risk, if a mandamus lawsuit doesn't work, and by the way, they do work most of the time, but not always. So you can never guarantee it's going to work, and sometimes they don't. If it doesn't work, you're out the attorney's fees and the expenses that you paid. That is, for most people, going to be the biggest risk. If you have any questions, as always, please feel free to reach out. And if you benefited from this video, if you found it helpful, I'd encourage you to subscribe for future videos. Thanks, and have a great day. Bye.